Hey, thank you for coming this morning. I want to welcome you to Clay County Economic Development Corporation third quarter luncheon presentation. We appreciate you taking the time. We appreciate you joining us. My name is Crawford Powell. I'm the president of Clay County Economic Development Corporation, and we're looking forward this morning to a very informative program. I want to thank the college and the Thrasher Horn Conference Center for your support and engagement. Last month, as a reference point, Clay County's unemployment was last month as a reference, Clay County's unemployment rate was 2.5%. Florida was 2.8, and the U.S. in general was 3.8. Clay County labor force consisted of 114,000 workers, translated into 111,000 people employed in Clay County. There were 6,400 jobs added last year in Clay County. And the median home price, I gave this to the commissioner several months ago, and I said, the good news is if you own a house, hang on to it. The bad news is if you're a seller, keep looking. The average price is $351,000 for a home in Clay County today, which, if you're a buyer now, is 1.7% less than it was a year ago. Just FYI. For our speaker today, entrepreneurship. Most of us usually go to work for a company that already existed with a position that was already available. Many of us don't understand what it takes to start a company from ground zero. But people ask all the time, I've got an idea to do this. Have you ever thought about doing that? Do you know what it takes to start a business? Who can I call? Where can I go? What can I do? Every community wants to have an entrepreneurial spirit within that community. It could be something that fills a local need, a dress shop, a restaurant, some type of manufacturing, some type of processing. Heck, there's folks that make a pretty good living cleaning yards. There's also folks that make a pretty good living cleaning houses. There's also folks in our community that have started IT-based companies that have bought and sold companies 2 or 3 times. Entrepreneurship, what's involved? What does it take? How many times does somebody ask you, who should I call? How should I do this? Do you know who I can reach out to? What do you think about this idea? Today we have with us Dr. Carlton Robinson, who is currently the Chief Innovation Officer at the Jacksonville Regional Chamber of Commerce. He has developed a wide range of entrepreneurial programming to support members and people throughout the community. Jack's Bridges is probably the primary point of contact that he began to start entrepreneurial education. So far, or to date, he has contacted or worked with over 2,000 business owners throughout 7 years of operation. Other leadership positions that he's held in small businesses have included Startup Quest, University of Florida, Lean Startup Week, Startup Weekend. He is also certified by the Kauffman Foundation and the National Center for Economic Gardening. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Carlton Robinson to the speaker.
All right. Good afternoon. Hopefully everybody's doing well. And I want to start by saying I'm so happy to be here today and just to be able to share with you some of the amazing things that I get a chance to do at the Jack's Chamber. But I live here in Clay County, right at the roundabout by the library, where the recycle comes at like 4 in the morning now. But I have 3 kids. 2 of them graduated from Fleming Island High School. We have been here in Clay County since 2000, and my daughter and oldest son were both a part of Fleming Island's 2 Final Four trips in basketball. So I told my youngest son, who's a freshman this year, he owes us one more trip. So hopefully hopefully we can get that. And then I've also had the opportunity to work with some amazing people here in this room. Bob, Kimberly, where's Kimberly? Okay, there's Kimberly. So Kimberly's a very, very special person for me because when I first started my idea around helping small business owners with the Jax Bridges program, and then also Bruce was actually there for me in the beginning with Startup Quest. I just had an idea about how we could better serve and better prepare entrepreneurs from the Chamber of Commerce perspective. And what I would say, and I think what's important for our conversation today, is everybody needs entrepreneurship, whether you're working for yourself or not. Some of you, you don't have to raise your hands, but you may need to be a little more entrepreneurial in your decision-making and your support of your team members to keep your job, right? So the structure of work has changed, and we need people that think differently, people that know how to drive innovation, people that know how to operationalize things that we used to do manually all the time. And so all of us should be thinking, and we really should be emphasizing how much of an entrepreneurial spirit we want our community to have. I'll also share with you that we have lots of people that travel from Clay County to downtown Jacksonville to participate in Jax Bridges. And we have quite a few success stories. And now that we're mostly on the other side of the pandemic, I do have the ability to kind of revisit that and see if there's something that we can do between the Jax Chamber and Clay County, since we've had so many people. And so we'll work on that. And hopefully maybe by the end of the year, there's something that we can do. Am I? Green, right? Green means go. Oh, but this needs to be plugged in. All right, so it's not me. So what I'm going to share with you today is a little bit of my journey. I will say, prior to taking this position with the Chamber, I did have my own small business here in Clay County. I think one of the advantages that we have in Clay County, or at least we did then, is in terms of registration, there was a really big drive where there wasn't this formal business registration like there is in Duval County. So you had lots of people that were starting businesses here in Clay County. Now, one of the issues is it's very difficult to track, the tax impact of that. So that's something that we have to work on. But it's easier to start a business and have a business here in Clay County than it is in Duval County. I have this slide up because I actually have two jobs. Most people don't know that. So even though I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at the Jax Chamber, and we have all of our programming, my role with the Jax USA Partnership is whenever we're attracting businesses and engaging businesses to move to our region. Sometimes it's Duval County, sometimes it's other counties. My responsibility is to go in and tell them about the small business climate, but also to convince them that we are an innovative community as a region, not just in Duval County. And so those are two roles that I have at the Chamber. And then our two signature programs, obviously, one is Jax Bridges, which we're in our 8th year, cohort 17, yes, 8th year. And then our Women's Business Center, which has been around for about 18 years or so. And even though these are established programs, one of the things that we have to keep doing is innovating and delivering value. And how we do that is really going to dictate how entrepreneurs and small business owners believe in us. And so I want to stress, everyone wants to have an entrepreneurial community, but not everyone wants to work to have an entrepreneurial community. And some of the things that you need, number one, obviously you need money. You need people with ideas. but you also need social infrastructure, and you need to deliver on the things that you said you would do. So when we started Jack's Bridges, myself and my boss, Daniel Davis, we actually went to banks and corporations and we asked them for support. And we did not get the support initially, okay? And I'm gonna give you some quotes, all right? And so this is the CEO of the chamber and little me tagging along. And it was, we don't believe you guys are gonna do it. We don't believe that you're gonna deliver on this because you never have for small businesses, right? So a big part of having an entrepreneurial community, a big part of creating that success in that environment is our leadership has to deliver on the promises that we make. We've got to deliver that value. That's the first thing that we have to do. So we've been able to do that with Jack's Bridges. We've got amazing success stories. By a show of hands, how many of you have eaten at Mr. Potato Spread in the mall? Right? So that was a business that came through Jack's Bridges, and when they were sitting there, they only had a food truck. And we worked on the business model at the chamber. They now have a location at River City, Orange Park Mall, Regency. They still have the food truck, and they're franchising outside of Northeast Florida. A food truck. And all they needed was just a little bit of infrastructure, a little bit of support, some introductions for additional resources, and they completely did the rest. And we've got lots of success stories like that, but I really want to focus on, for all of us here today, is how can we create visionary leadership for Clay County? And so I have 3 books, and I'm hoping that I'll get at least 3 questions asked of me at the end, and I can give out each one of those books. And so I'm going to just share with you my journey and the opportunity that I've had at the Jack's Chamber and how I think you could do something similar here in Clay County. And I'm saying you, but it's really we, because I'm a resident here in Clay County. So number one, if we want to drive entrepreneurship and innovation, someone, Laura, has to read that first book. Probably Laura, right? So the startup community. Now, I'm not saying that we have to create a startup community here in Clay County, but we need to know the framework of a startup community, because there are lots of people who live here that have done amazing things, but they've taken them outside of Clay County, and then they come back and they live here in Clay County. So think about it. I'm one of a lot of people, so is the rate still about 60% of our, it's higher now, 65, 6, somewhere around there. So 65%, 2/3 of the people that live here in Clay County cross the county line every day and they go do something amazing in another county, and then they come back here. And I don't really leave out after Friday, I'm here. And so we have all of that social capital. We have all of that intellectual capital right here in Clay County, but other places are realizing the value of it, okay? And so one of the things that we need to do is to clearly understand what are some things that we could do to attract different elements of a startup community. So we have Niagara, who has a pretty cool space, right? We could actually take a look at their supply chain and identify different businesses who could support that supply chain and start to build a lot of entrepreneurial activity around that space. And they don't have to all do business in Clay County, but they would come to Clay County to leverage those resources to learn how to do that. And there are lots of different elements around the startup community that we can leverage to really change the dynamics of the county. And then that second book is about supplier diversity. So everyone that works for a large company, large or medium enterprise, all of you have to make purchases. And who do you make those purchases from? If a percent of those purchases were made by small business owners. So if you did business with just some of our local small business owners, you really changed the dynamics of our entire community. So if we took every large corporation that we have that's operating here in Clay County, and they did business with just a fraction of the available small business owners. Again, we're creating revenue streams that are totally being overlooked right now. But who's actually the voice for making those types of things happen in our community today, right? So startup community, supplier diversity, and then the last book, which this is my most favorite book ever, okay? Someone has to outthink the competition. So as a county, all of us are in competition to keep talent. We're in competition. None of your bosses have told me anything. This is just how I think. But we are in competition to keep our jobs, okay? And we're in competition to really look good and drive innovation. And I would say that's one of the things that I've had the opportunity to do at the Jack's Chamber is to really outthink the competition. That's how I've been able to have success at my job. I just look at what all of the other chambers are doing for entrepreneurs, and I'm like, I can beat them. Literally, I say, I can beat them, right? And I want my staff to beat them. And I want us to create opportunities that no one else is creating. And then I want us to go even further than that. Not just Jacksonville, but our entire state of Florida. I want us to be the best chamber of commerce for supporting entrepreneurs and innovation. That has been my mission since the first day that I took this job. And I remember after I was on the job for maybe about 2 weeks, the CEO at the time came over to me and he was like, so what do you think, what's your goal in this position? And I told him, and he was like, you think you're gonna do that here? And I said, yeah. Now it's taken me almost 10 years, but I did it, right? And so what I wanna share with you is the Outthink the Competition book is amazing. Everyone else who doesn't get the book, you should buy it. And it has 5 strategies down at the bottom. And what you want to do is you want to be one of those people. So maybe you imagine, you dissect, you expand, you analyze. That last column is sell. So 1 or 2 of those things, like that has to be your value proposition, your driver, either in your company or as a community. You can do one of those things better than anyone else. It's the thing that's going to help drive Clay County and the people that live here to a higher level. And so, again, because I live here, I'm more than happy to come back and work with you guys, Laura, to help make this happen. But today I want to share this, and then I want to, talk to you about, we can have ideas, but then how do we execute, right? And I'm really, really big on, if we say that we're going to do something, we have to execute, right? And we have to demonstrate those results, regardless of what type of entity we're in. So at the Jack's Chamber, every year we take a leadership trip. And we've been to places like Toronto, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, Denver several times, Nashville. We're going back to Nashville in a few weeks, San Francisco, all of these different cities. And as we go to these cities, we're able to capture like things that they're doing. It's very inspiring. And of course, it's a dog and pony show when there's a large group, okay? And then when you go back, it's not necessarily the same, but it's still cool to see these environments and then to ask, what could we do in our region to compete? And then on the other side, I have 2 kids that I would like to stay in the region. My son is at USF, and he told me he was never coming back. And, that was the day he graduated. He's like, I'm going to Tampa, and I'm never coming back. And so obviously, every time he comes back, I'm showing him what I'm doing here in Jacksonville and all of the different projects. And so he said, you know what, Jacksonville might be cool, right? And so now I don't know if he's just saying that because I give him money when he comes back, but I'm going to take the path of we're getting cooler, right? So I'm sharing that because as we went to all of these places, and I want you to think about this. If you're a business owner, if you are an executive, and you were attempting to impress someone, and I'm just going to say the Jacksonville region, okay? Where would we take them to demonstrate that we're innovative? Where would we take them? Most of us have no idea, right? Like we don't really have a place that says, we're cool, we're driving innovation because we do this. Like we may point at the hospitals and all of the things that they're doing, but ultimately we've never had a place that demonstrates that. And so in 2020, I made a pitch, to our board that we should have a place to do something like that. And it was softly received is what I would say, right? There was very little excitement in the room about that. It was kind of a shrug the shoulder, but I did plant some seeds. And as we, went to other places, and we started to see, it doesn't take a lot, right? And so I'm sharing with you, I'm from the Tampa Bay area originally. Tampa Bay has a place called the Wave Center. They have actually just moved because of so much activity in the Wave Center. But I want you to envision if this were Orange Park as a place for an accelerator. So imagine if we had an accelerator here in Clay County, and what does it take to have an accelerator? So most of us would think that we need a space, and maybe Bob could give us a space if he wanted to, but most of us would say we need this big space, but here's what they do in Tampa. A company could engage for 90 days. They only have to be in person 4 times, which means they don't have to be there for 90 days. So what the pandemic has done is really shifted how we can do a lot of different things. So in Tampa, you could be engaged in this accelerator and only have to show up in person. I think it's for 3 or 4 day sessions. You could do that anywhere, right? I mean, we could house them. And so this is one area. And then here, this was from my trip in Cincinnati. Again, I kind of like the openness of this space, but these are things that we could do here in Northeast Florida that we had not done. So each time that I visited these spaces, I really tried to come back and share with my board until I found someone that, would say, yeah, let's try that. And I actually did get a yes. And so we've been working the past year on actually building a space. I'm going to have 4,000 square feet in the JTA building. And we hope to open in the next 30 to 45 days. And if you guys sign up with Laura, I can host groups of you guys to come and show you how cool we are. And then, so this also, again, and we talk about the importance of innovation. So how many people are familiar with Florida Power Light? Most people, right? Okay, so FPL has what's called 35 Mules. That's an accelerator program that they run, okay? Now, they take people from all over the state and they bring them in, and their sole mission is to drive innovation in the energy sector. I'm working with JEA, fingers crossed, for us to actually have something like that here in Northeast Florida. And that can expand to all of our counties. But if we have a space, we can do those same types of things, right? And then on the right-hand side, I was able to visit Nextera in Washington, D.C. And a few years ago, we had JEA had an innovation event that was not wildly accepted. Some people thought, maybe it was a waste of money because the majority of the participants were employees. And then I went to Nextera's event, and they spent $6.5 million on the innovation conference. There were 3,600 people participating, and I was one of 100 people that were not employees. And so in different regions of the country, they see the importance of innovation from a different perspective, and they invest differently than what we do here in Northeast Florida. But that slide on the right-hand side are all employees who submitted an innovation idea. And if they made it to that last quadrant to the right-hand side, which there's about 4 companies, that became their job every day. So they shifted from being a regular employee to being a part owner of a company within Nextera. And they run this program every single year. Now, I don't know that we'll have those types of opportunities anytime soon here in Jacksonville, but hopefully this kind of stretches the imagination of what's possible within our own companies and what's possible for us as a region. So for me, these are some of our current assets. And as I'm, just promoting how innovative our district and our region is. So this is the JTA building. Is everyone familiar with the Prime Osborne that's downtown? So this is right across the street from the Prime Osborne. And I think we're going to have a soft opening on the 21st of October. And like I said, we can schedule to have a group of you come in and, maybe we can have a lunch. I can do maybe 15 or 20 of you at a time, just to kind of celebrate, right? That we're doing things that are extremely innovative. And so what this looks like inside, we're on the 2nd floor. And I call this, so these are like my 4 zones. So zone 1, bottom left-hand corner is entry. Zone 2 in the red there is, workspace, dedicated staff space, and then it's really open. So there's only one enclosed room in the entire 4,000 square feet. And so we're pretty excited about that, and we can do a lot of different configurations. And this is what it looks like on the inside. And so this is just a few pictures, but we're really, really excited that now we will have a space, and then we've got some programming. I was sharing with a few people earlier. We're going to launch a new accelerator in November. I'll make sure we inform you of that. And then I'm going to go back to this slide, and I can take questions if Laura lets me. Again, I want you to think about what's possible. What could be possible for Clay County in terms of innovation, in terms of driving entrepreneurship? And I'm certain there's at least 5 to 10 people in here right now that fit the description of innovation and entrepreneurship. They love Clay County, but they don't feel like they have the resources to really scale here, so they're going into other places. If we could just get a fraction of those people to stay and have that impact in Clay County, a lot of cool things are possible. And so with that, I've left time for questions, and I have my 3 books that I can give out based on the questions. So, no mic? Okay, that's fine. Okay. Does anyone have questions or comments? Okay.
In the Bridges program, can you talk about the specific curriculum that's provided? Or?
Yes, I can. So I developed the entire curriculum. In our first cohort, we had Representative Cummings helped us get some funding from the state, and as a part of that, we had to submit the curriculum. And at that time, it was the Kauffman Foundation, and the books were $250 each, and I think we bought 50 of those books. And before the first session, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I can't do this. And so my staff is like, what do you mean? The session starts in an hour. And I said, if we go in with these thick books and we say, we're going to teach you about entrepreneurship, we're going to lose the majority of the people. And so I made a decision not to use the books. And we used the business model canvas, the value proposition canvas, the Outthink the Competition at the time. and some other things that I had gathered just from being an entrepreneur. And ultimately, we created these 8 principles that we teach to around building your value proposition, understanding your jobs to be done, giving them an opportunity to pitch to real companies. And that stuck, and it's worked. And so we've stayed with that the entire time, made some small changes, but the focus is really helping the business owners identify their business model, understand their value proposition, craft their pitch in a way that is clear and concise, take a look at their vertical markets, and then build a capability statement and present it. And so all of that happens over about I would say maybe 10-week or so session. And we meet once a week for about 2 hours. And then we do that twice a year. And so, yes.
Are all the classes back to in person now?
Yes, they are. So George,
George, you want to start a company?
All right, so we got 2 books left. All right, so are all the classes in person? So when the pandemic hit, we were actually in the middle of a cohort, and we thought we would only be gone for 2 weeks. But what I had done as a part of pitching this program to my board is I had all of the contingencies. So in 2013, when I pitched it to the board, we already had the capability to do all of the online training, but no one took advantage of it. So just kind of think about that for a second. 7 years prior, we were able to do the Zoom rooms and all of those things, okay? So when the pandemic hit, it took us about a week, and then we adjusted. We actually used Telegram also, which was pretty interesting. We have a wide age group, and so teaching some people how to use Telegram was a challenge, but we all made it. And after that week, we were back. And so we did 3 cohorts that were fully online, and then everybody wanted to come back. And so we have a big enough space at the chamber to where, it's all been in person. But I did share earlier, we are taking a look at maybe doing some hybrid models so we can help counties like Clay County, St. Johns County, now that everybody is, familiar with those types of tools. So good question.
Do you see more female entrepreneurs than male entrepreneurs?
Absolutely, yes. And I'm smiling because when we take a look at the data, it's about 68% of applicants are female. And we don't advertise it as a female program, but what I would say is that, guys, we kind of think we got this, right? For as long as we can until we don't, right? And then what I've seen in our programs is our female entrepreneurs, they're just, they want to drive forward. They want to know and learn as much as possible and then keep going, right? So it's a very interesting dynamic that we see, but across the board, and I think this is nationally also, women are more likely to, execute on the programming. But what I will also share is that we have lots of companies here in Northeast Florida where women may not be the majority owners, but they're the ones leading the companies, okay? And we found this just because we're asking that question on the application, are you a percent owner? And so we really had to change our perspective on viewing business ownership and leadership in terms of who we're inviting to come and actually be a part of the program. So you don't have to be the owner in order to participate in the program. Great question.
Have you had to change your curriculum with the different generations that are developing an entrepreneurial spirit, or do you find the principles kind of work across the board, across gender and age?
Okay, that's a really good question. In our first cohort, we were attempting to be all things to all people, and it did not work out for us. We were, if they've been in business for this long, we're going to put this group together, and if they're a startup over here. But the reality is the principles are the principles, right? Everyone needs a business model. Everyone needs a value proposition. Those are business principles. Now, the way that we teach and educate, we're able to bring in, a wide range of past participants, and that's where the age comes in, right? People self-identify. And so from an educational perspective, it's really experiential instead of lecture. So we may talk about a concept and then we're putting it into application every single time. So there's an exercise every time that we come together. And the goal is at the end of the program, you kind of have this portfolio that you've worked on of your business, not a fictitious or example, but you've been working on your business model, your value proposition. So now everyone has a self-interest each week on how they can get a little bit better. Okay. There was a question. Yes.
So looking at your model there on the left with the 7 different types of capital, with respect to Clay County, are there any of those 7 that stand out as being particularly strong or really in need of being worked on?
My personal perspective is we need a foundation, right? So if we said today, who would be the driver of innovation and entrepreneurship in Clay County? Who could that entity be that everyone trusts? That if they said, hey, we're going to have this program and it's going to happen. Like, we don't really know who that is today, right? And so as we take a look at all of the other types of capital, we'd really have to have that foundation first. Now, I was having a conversation with George earlier about financial capital. Lots of people will say capital is not available. I will tell you it's everywhere. It is readily available, but it's based on how you present your business or how you present your idea in terms of how you attract capital. So again, I would say, for Clay County, and I feel a little uncomfortable, saying this, but we need a leader, whether that be an organization or a group of entrepreneurs or someone else. But if we had a leader and then that leader can attract those different types of capital, then we have more opportunity here in Clay County. Does that make sense? Okay. A couple more questions? Maybe something from this table?
I agree with what you just said.
Yes.
So who's that leader, Jackson?
Okay. I should have made that the last one. So here's what I'll say about Jacksonville, and again, sharing this conversation earlier. It can't be just one person or one entity. But here's what we all need to understand. One of the things that you need is strong political leadership. And the reason that you need political leadership is because political leadership can make the way for resources that you may not have access to. I will tell you that Representative Cummings helped us secure funding for bridges, okay? He helped us secure funding for bridges for like 4 years. It would not have happened without him, okay? Now, once you have strong political leadership, obviously we've got to have the person or entity or group that are the drivers and the catalyst. Like, they're actually executing and delivering on what we said we would do, okay? And then the third thing, which I think is probably the most important, is we've got to earn the trust of the entrepreneurs. I mean, we could talk all day about all the things that we have and the things that we're going to do, but if we don't have the trust of the entrepreneurial community, then we aren't going to get the participation. And so I would say what we've been able to do in Jacksonville is earn the trust. Earn the trust by helping people, not taking credit for their hard work, but helping them and supporting them along the way and delivering value and asking them to come back and then recognizing them as a success. And so I think those three things, it's a lot of work, it's continuous work, but it's worth the challenge. So, all right. Well, I want to thank you guys. So I have one more thing, and so I'm going to give this to Crawford since he's leading great efforts. So in our Jax Bridges program, typically when the entrepreneurs complete the program, they all get a Jax Bridges coin. Okay, and so today I'm going to give Crawford. Now his doesn't say entrepreneur because he didn't go through the program, but we're not going to hold that against him. All right, but it does say corporate partner. And we appreciate you all here in Clay County with the Jax USA partnership. You're doing great work, and we love having you as a partner. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow, that was pretty interesting. That was a pretty good opportunity. And Howard, I'm thinking we do a Clay County Shark Tank for people that want to come and present for opportunities and education. We'll get a handful of folks and make it an event and kind of put that together. I think that'd be pretty cool. So, hey, thank you so much for coming today. If you have questions about entrepreneurship, you can contact our office or you can contact the chamber, and we will forward you to Carlton real quick. But we can help. I had a phone call this morning with somebody that said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business, and I said, hey, we'd love to sit down and talk to you. So we appreciate that opportunity. I did want to mention we have a couple of our new stakeholders engaged here. Clay Town Center, NDN Companies, and Trumont. And we appreciate you being involved with the organization, and thank you for being here. With that, I would like to say thank you to each of you, and have a great day.